Okay, so first of all, a little intro from Avos 4:2, Pirkei Avos, okay? Then Azai Omer Hevirat limits of Kala Kavachamura Uborech Min Havera. We're not going to dwell on this, but you'll see why I'm doing it in a second. You should run to a light mitzvah like a strict mitzvah or a heavy mitzvah, whatever, chamor, Uborech Min Havera, and you should flee from an avera. Mitzvah gureres mitzvah, avera gureres avera. Because one mitzvah leads to another, one avera leads to another. We did this last year. Sheskar mitzvah mitzvah, skar avera avera. And the reward for one mitzvah is another, and the reward for one avera is another. So the Rambam says, and I'm going to put on the screen the translation that they have on there, but I always like using the topic better. He says, we already explained this Mishnah in the 10th parak of Sanhedrin. And the Chachamim already pointed out a wondrous point in Torah, which will make you motivated to keep mitzvahs. So if anyone's looking for mitzvah motivation, here it is, okay? V'hu amru. It's Amro. God said, Az yavdil Moshe shalosh arim. Then Moshe separated out three cities. Okay, this is cities of refuge. V'yadua, and it was known, she'enam mo'ilim, that they're not going to have any benefit. Okay, that these are not effective. V'ein lehem din are miklat ad yuvdilu hashlosh acheros sheberetz Canaan, and they will not. So these are cities of refuge. I'll wait till this deal is worked out and then. All right. So did you get that point? That was the wondrous point. Yeah. What? Yeah. Okay. This is a very, very important point. Okay. There are three cities of refuge that Moshe separated. Okay. Yeah, and they don't count as Ari Miklat until he does all six. Okay, and he only did three. Okay, and then he died. All right, and he knew he was going to die. Amru Yodea Hayam Moshe Rabbeinu Shein Shalosh Shabever Yardin Koltos Ashi He Shalosh Shaberetz Canaan. Moshe knew that the three that are on the other side of the Yarden would not function as Ari Miklat and like collect people who are fleeing until he separated the ones in on the other in Eretz Canaan. Shnemar Sheish Ari Miklat Tiena. It should be six. Lo hivdil es elu ella lefisha amar. So why did he separate these three? Okay, and this is kind of, I mean, this is kind of a question if you're going to learn this Mishnah. You would not pick up two of the Arba Minim, presumably, right? Because it's nothing, right? So like that's how you should analyze this here. Is he's doing three Ari Miklat, but you need six in order for them to be Ari Miklat. So he's not really doing anything. Yeah. Well, in the case of Arba Minim, you don't pick up the other two. Right, but Moshe is not going to pick up the other two. Yeah, right. Moshe himself is not going to pick up the other two. So why did he do it? The only reason he did it is he said, once a mitzvah opportunity comes into my hand, I'll do it. Okay. Uma'im Moshe. Now Rambam draws a kal v'chomer. Uma'im Moshe Rabbeinu masika emes shalim shebashlamim. If Moshe Rabbeinu, the one who grasped the truth and was the most perfected of all perfected people, nishtadel lahosif chatzi mitzvah. If he strove to do half a mitzvah, even though despite all of his virtues and perfections, okay, on us even more so, all the more so for people like us whose souls are covered in filth. Vinoshan. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the moral of the story is Moshe tried to did half of the mitzvah because even though he was very perfected, you know, and he still did that anyway. Okay, so why are we doing this? Okay, I thought of this intro as I walked over here because there's a good chance that we're not going to figure out this parak. Okay, I worked on it more with Ken. I worked on it more by myself, and I got lots of little pieces. And we have an approach, and the approach that Ken and I have is not complete and is not reflected in any of the Mefarshim, with the possible exception halfway of the Sforno. And I just wanted to remind us, okay, so what you know, there have been times when I have been in this situation before, when I've come to Shir, not had an idea, and then Hashem helps me out during the Shir. Okay, so we're kind of hoping on that, but we're not banking on a miracle. And so at the very least, what we'll get is we will have learned a lot. We will have like tilled the soil, you know. So like hopefully you can like you know, figure this out on your own afterwards. And also like we will have learned individual ideas, but like this one was a difficult one. Yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say that like I feel like the analogy between doing a mitzvah and learning are two separate.
Yes. So you can say a kal v'chomer also, because in the mitzvah you don't do anything halachically at all, but in learning you're getting knowledge. Exactly, yeah. Right. The only thing is that you tell that to the ego, And the eagle's like, but we didn't get the idea. We didn't finish.
So that's what we're here.
Yeah, you got to smack the eagle around every once in a while. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just move out of kicking distance because yeah. Okay. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. Okay. Usually, what we do is we do a complete review before we start delving into this. But because I found a lot of subtleties in the Hebrew, and I modified the English I printed out is a slightly different one than the one that we came up with together. So I want to point out the nuances. Let's treat this as quasi review, but quasi like try and figure stuff out. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. And you feel free to ask any questions because you say you didn't listen to this. Okay. All right. So LeDavid Mizmor. So to David a Mizmor, which we said, what's the code of that mean? He got Ruach Kodesh and then said the Mizmor. Right? Yeah, he was using it. I just got mixed up with using. Yeah, as opposed to Mizmor LeDavid, which means he said it in order to get Ruach Kodesh.
So now maybe makes sense that we play like in the He was saying he had Ruach Kodesh.
Yeah, but he was saying it for us. So wow. Okay. So L'Hashem ha'aretz umloa, tevel v'yoshvei ba. Hashem's is the earth and its fullness, the inhabited world and those who dwell in it. Kihu al yamim yasada v'al naharos yechonaneha. He founded it upon seas and on rivers. He established it. And then one of the Mefarshim, I forgot if we did this last time. One of the Mefarshim says, okay, fine. He founded it on seas because like plain shot, that means that you got the oceans and then like the water is like on it. I mean, it's not really on it. I don't know what they thought the relationship was between the I think they thought that the earth, that the land mass was like floating on the water. I don't think they thought the turtle. Read all of my separations, you won't see the turtle. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. I'll do it to calm your nerves instead of save my phone. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, so I think when he says that Hashem founded on the earth, a lot of them Farshim spend a lot of time going into like how miraculous that was. So I'm assuming that they didn't know like plate tectonics and all that stuff. Okay. So, but then the question though is, all of Naharos Yechananah, he put it on rivers. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so some of the Mefarshim say, like for example, I think the Tosfos Harid, or the Rid, I mean. No, not the Rid. Someone says it means he put it near rivers. I forgot who said this, meaning that there are like water sources near places where people live. Okay, fine. All right, whatever.
Well, I understand there's a very different connotation between God creating these things, wonder like that miraculous being able to have these cold water versus like a Hashem of putting land and where we are living near sources. Probably.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. That's a different point. And it happens, it looks like it kind of parallels well with L'Hashem ha'aretz umloa. That's talking about like Hashem's relationship with the Bria itself. And then Tevel v'yoshvei, the inhabited world and the people who dwell in it. Yeah. And then this is also talking about putting the land on the water and then making the inhabitants have access to the rivers.
Which sounds like there will be more class of Hashem over the wonders of.
Yeah, I could see it framed that way. Yeah, I don't think you have to say that, but yeah. Okay. Mi yale b'har Hashem. Who shall ascend the mountain of Hashem? Umi yakum bimkom kadsho. And who shall stand up in his holy place? So that's a question. So the answer is Daled. Niki kapayim uvar levav. Someone who is clean of hands and pure of heart. Asher lo nasa lashav nafshi v'lo nishba limirma. Okay, so we translated it somewhat like this: who has not borne my soul in a lie or sworn falsely, like because like we say no say means to bear something or to carry it, but it also means to like take something, like no say shem shemaim levatala. So plain shot is he has not sworn falsely by my name. Now the question is, why is it suddenly switched to first person? Okay, because like it doesn't seem like Hashem's talking here, right? So the Ibn Ezra says that is on the right column on the what is this page? Reish Samech He, the Reish Samech Tes. Yeah, Ibn Ezra on the right side. He says, look at in the middle of that comment, because of nafshi, my soul, derech kinoi. It's a euphemism. Okay, ba'avur kavod Hashem, because of the respect for God. Al derech vahisi ani ubini shlomo chataim, like Bathsheba says to David, I and my son Shlomo are sinners. Kasher pirashtiv, as I've explained. Okay, anyone have any idea what he means?
That's when, what's the name? Oh, wait, what do you mean?
What does he mean that it's a euphemism? It's a kinoi out of respect for the name.
What is the euphemism?
Euphemism is saying
No,
who
I'm
is
saying
not
what did he think it is?
the phrase "my soul." Okay, I'll give you another. This is actually clear. Look at the rid on the other side of the road. L'shav nafshi nafsho. Okay, I guess that gives it away. Nafsho hayalomar. It should have said nafsho, God's soul, so to speak, or God's self. Ella hamshor kina derech kavod lamala. But the psalmist used the euphemism out of respect for God because of nafshi. So this is a style of Hebrew euphemism where you substitute if the object of a bad statement is if saying that something bad's gonna happen to someone who deserves kavod, you reverse it or you use a different object. I think the one that we're probably most familiar with. I was thinking of Paro, but not Yosef Paro. What did Yosef say? I don't remember that one.
I forget.
I was thinking of oh yeah, no, hold on. Whatever. Charev? Maybe Moshe and Paro. Hold on. I don't know if I'm imagining this example. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so Moshe is talking to Paro, and he says, "Vayomru." They said, "Elokei ha'ivrim nikra aleinu." This is Moshe and Aaron, I think. The God of the Hebrews has chanced upon us. Let us go for 3 days in the wilderness. And we will slaughter to Hashem our God. Lest he strike us with plague or sword. So what Moshe really meant is lest he strike you with plague or sword. But out of kavod to Paro, he said us instead of you. Okay, so same thing here. That really this pasuk should have is supposed to be saying he has not sworn falsely in his name, but he changed it to in my name. Okay, so, and yeah.
Can we uncapitalize the my?
Yes, we can uncapitalize my, because the my we got from art school, I think, right? So who is not sworn falsely? I'm just gonna say it like this: sworn falsely in God's by God's being. Okay, like nafshi is here like you know how we say atzmo means self, but what does atzmo literally mean? Bone, right? His bone. So nafshi is used in the same way. Nefesh, nefesh means soul, but also means self. Okay, so yeah. Okay, yeah, and has not taken an oath deceitfully. Okay, so that's the guy who can go up on the Har Hashem.
But what this self is?
Nefesh.
Is it not, maybe what is the self? Like the self of the person?
Well, but here we're talking about God, though, right? So you can't say God's soul, right? So God's very being, yeah. Let's add in the word very. No, that implies quantity. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so God's being. Yeah. All right. So that's the guy who can go up. Okay. Then we have the result. Yisa bracha meis Hashem. He will receive blessing from Hashem. Utzedaka melokei yisho, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Okay. I think those of us who are doing Rambam Bakius, I think, can now understand this. Tzedakah. What do you think? Because it's weird. It's saying he received righteousness from God. What does righteousness mean in this context? Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. His needs. Yeah. Okay. Right. So the tzedakah, literally, Rambam defines tzedakah in the Morning Bukim as in I think 353 or 354 as providing a giving someone what is owed to them and giving every existing thing that which is beneficial for their existence, what befits their existence. Bracha is Tosefes Tov. Yeah, bracha is more than that.
No switching.
Who's switching?
Meaning, because I was trying to continue with that where we were hitting up the first two children.
Yeah.
Like one is like God's.
Oh, you mean David's theory?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, David Lichter's theory. Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's kind of switches it.
Yeah.
Now it's saying, because really bracha is the rachamim.
Yeah.
And then righteousness is almost like the midas hadin of
yeah.
Of tzedakah is almost like midas hadin in the sense that everybody gets what they need.
Right. Yeah. I personally am not as enthused by David's theory as he is. I think it's just talking about world and people. But yeah. Okay. Okay. Then he says, Zed Dor Shav. This is a generation of his seekers, of God. Mavakshe fanecha Yaakov Sela, those who seek out your presence or your literally your face, but I think presence makes more sense here. Yaakov Sela. We said Sela means
It is so.
it is so. Yeah.
I don't know if this is an open question.
Yeah.
Definitely one, but what generation?
Yeah, that is a question. Yeah, that's a big question about when this is. Okay, 7. Su'u sha'arim rashechem. Lift up your heads, O gates. V'hinas'u pischei olam, and rise up, eternal gates. V'yavo melech hakavod, and the King of Glory will enter. Mi ze melech hakavod. Who is this King of Glory? Hashem izuz v'gibor. Hashem strong and mighty. Hashem gibor milchma. Hashem the mighty warrior. Su'u sha'arim rashechem. Lift up your heads, O gates, and lift up eternal gates. V'yavo melech hakavod, and the King of Glory will enter. Mihu ze melech hakavod. Remember last time I initially thought that that pasuk 7 and 9 were exactly the same, and then someone pointed out that in it says vihi nasu and this says usu. I also thought that the first part of 8 and 10 were the same, but they're not. 8 says mi ze melech hakavod and 10 says mihu ze melech hakavod. Okay, I don't know how to translate that. Who is he? I translate who is he, the King of Glory. Hashem tzavakos hu melech hakavod Sela. Hashem of legions, or Hashem master of legions, is the King of Glory Sela. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that was Oh, I thought you were gonna say something. Yeah. No. Okay. So we'll continue just reviewing our questions first. So we said pivot point wise, it seems to be 1 and 2 seem to be doing their own thing, okay, because it's talking about Hashem's relationship to the earth. Then 3, 4, 5, 6 seem to be talking about people's relationship to God, and then 7, 8, 9, 10 seems to be talking about Hashem again.
About something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So and then yeah, right. So then we had a bunch of questions. So let's. I don't even know if I wrote down all of them. What is pasuk Aleph teaching us? Isn't it obvious, right? Everything belongs to the God. Okay, fine. 2, what is the function of Psukim Aleph and Beis? They don't really seem to fit into the theme of the rest of the thing, right? They're very gracious Psukim. And by the way, the Gemara says, I told you I peeked at the Gemara. The Gemara says that that's why we say it on Sunday, because Sunday is corresponding to Yom Rishon, which is Ma'aseh Bereishis. But it's a little hard because that's only the first 2 Psukim, right? So like, so that's why I don't want to touch that sugya yet. All right. Okay, then we say, who are these gates and why are we talking to them? Is there a difference between regular gates and eternal gates? Right, who are these gates here? 4, what is the mountain of Hashem? 5, we said that, there's, is it the base, the Har HaMoriah? Is it Har Sinai? Is it something else? 5, who is the person in pasuk Daled? This guy who has clean hands and pure of heart. And what does each clause mean? Why these clauses and what is the relationship to each other? And we noted that, is not swearing deceitfully a result of the pure heart? And I think I also said this verbally, like clean of hands and pure of heart. Those are 2 very general characteristics, but not swearing falsely and taking an oath. Those are that's like a specific thing in Taryag, like a specific los aseh, So it is a little weird that it like juxtaposes the 2. Also, we didn't ask this, but why is this the only person who can go up to the mountain of Hashem? 6, what is the bracha and tzedakah he's receiving? 7, which generation is he referring to? That was Oren's question. 8, why does this contain an inordinate number of repetitions? Why is every pasuk a doublet? We found out when Ken and I were going through this. I told Ken, I said, Ken, someone said, someone in the Shir said every pasuk is a doublet, and then we found one that's not. Is it, yeah, 6.
No, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah?
I disagree.
Wait, no, so maybe it wasn't 6. Which one was it? 4?
No. 2? 2's a double.
No, 4. What about 4? The clean of hands and pure of heart.
No, a double is like, it's a double saying.
Yeah. How do you? 4. What do you do with 4?
4, I would say clean of hands and pure of heart is one thing, and sworn falsely, because that's like the good thing that is good. This is what his merits are, and it's always for who's sworn falsely and taking an oath would be deceitfully would be like a demerit.
Okay, I hear that. It's a little stretching the definition of double a little bit. Yeah, okay, I hear. All right. Then
it's showing his merits and it's showing how he's also not embarrassed.
I mean, they're all doubles the matter, not just
yeah, not a pure repetition.
Yeah.
8. And then also, why repeat the mihu ze melech hakavod right at the end? That's evident to anyone who says it. You ever get to that thing where you're saying it and you're like, did I ever say this? Yeah, yeah. In what sense does the Melech HaKavod arrive? Right? What is it? It seems the imagery here is like the gates are opening for the king to come, but where's he coming from? Like, what's the what? 10. Why employ question and answer throughout this parak? That's not something we've seen in Tehilim before, right? We've got question in 3, answer in 4. We've got question in 8. Question in 8 and answer in 8, and then question in 10 and answer in 10. Why is Hashem characterized in these specific ways? What do these answers convey to the audience? Who is the audience? Okay, and I'm sure we have more questions, but those are all the problems. Yeah. Okay, so before you say your thing.
Oh, I have scattered thoughts.
Oh, you have scattered. Okay, so let's get scattered thoughts before we attempt to crash land the plane. Yeah.
There's a scattered thought that came to me like while we were going earlier. 8, it seems to be, I mean, maybe someone said this last week, but 8 seems to be talking or describing Hashem to people, and 10 seems to be describing Hashem in relationship to like Malachim. Hashem Tzvakos, we tend to like say like that's usually like in conjunction with Malachim. Yeah. So I wonder if that's anything.
Okay, so that is a good observation. I just want to point out fact-wise. So if you look at Sadia Gaon, actually I don't even know if Sadia Gaon is going to say this here, but he does say it somewhere. Just give me 1 second. No, he doesn't say it here. But if you look at Ibn Ezra on the last, is that the last pasuk that says Tzvakos? Yeah. Ibn Ezra, is it on the last page? Yeah. Ibn Ezra on the last page, second line of the Ibn Ezra. V'tam Hashem Tzvakos, sheyihu anshe hador kamo malachei Hashem. Okay, so that the, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of in between, isn't it? He's saying that the people of the generation are like the malachim of Hashem.
Well, that means he seems to be giving us a hint as to what he's calling the generation.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Okay. That's actually not the Ibn Ezra I thought. I guess I missed that one. The next one's the one I thought. V'tam Hashem tzvakos ki nikra Hashem kacha b'avur tzva hashemayim kasher pirashti. So when you say legions, what legions is it talking about? It's talking about the legions of heaven, right? Like the celestial bodies and angels and such. As I explained, lo bavur tzava Yisrael kasher amar hagaon, not the legions of Israel, as Sadia Gaon explains. Okay, so but then it looks like Ibn Ezra found a middle ground because he's saying it is referring to Israel by analogy to the legions of heaven, right? That Israel is like the Malchei Hashais. So Ibn Ezra got his could have his cake and eat it too. He could disagree with Sadia Gaon and still interpret it as referring to people. Yeah. Okay, anyone else have any scattered thoughts or theories? Yeah, Ellie.
In terms of the first, they don't really belong.
Yeah.
It gives off a similar style or feeling as say like the introduction to Shemona Esrei, where you're like establishing God's might.
Yes. Yeah.
Like almost as really a reminder. I guess maybe I'm not sure, but it seems like a nice introduction.
Okay, so that was also what I wanted to say, which is that I think that 1 and 2 are just setting the stage, really for the whole parak, but specifically or most directly for 3. Okay, which is that God has the entire earth, everything belongs to Him, yet He chooses this mountain. You know, so if you just called this mountain Har Hashem, it kind of lacks in grandeur. But if you set it up with the context that the whole earth belongs to Him, but then He chooses this mountain to be the place where He has His whatever is talking about here, you know, then it like is setting the context for that, you know. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be in that way. I mean, I'm agreeing with your general move that it's setting for the context for the whole thing, but yeah. No, we did not. I said there's several approaches that people take, but we didn't commit to any of them. Yeah.
Because like I'm starting to get into your knowledge here.
Yeah.
The answer.
And you're coming at a horrible time because I'm not going to have an idea tonight. Yeah. You're coming at a horrible time because I'm not going to have an idea tonight.
No,
yeah.
I'm very
okay, good. Yeah.
I just want, in terms of methodology,
yeah.
You say like it could talk about David's definite amounts of like personal life, or it could be, you know, in the future or past tense.
Yeah, so this is a good time to review this. So
That's what I was missing. last
Right.
week.
So this is what I call the three modes of Tehilim. Okay, which is that Tehilim is either talking about it's either biographical mode, talking about an instance or an event in David's life. Two, it's talking about Klal Yisrael, the nation, and something that happens in national life. And three is it's talking about universal ideas that are applicable to all times and
When you
places.
say national life, you mean in this in that specific?
Not necessarily in that specific era, right? Yeah. So for example, like you have many psukim or many prakim that are about Yemos Mashiach. You have ones that are about specific eras, like Al Naharos Bavel was about Galus Bavel. The Tzeitzis Yisrael Mitzrayim was about Yetzias Mitzrayim. You know, yeah. And then the universal ones are like Ashrei, right? Ashrei is not about any particular time, or Barchi Nafshi, right? That's about like nature and God's relationship to it.
Interesting, but yeah, I mean, because this one is, it's real close, you would presumably you think that it would be referring to something in the future.
That is a good clue. That is a good clue. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Yeah,
And that's what last weekend, everything else.
right. Yeah. Yeah, Chaim?
I don't know, I mean, I think we're all jumping around it, but it seems like we're all kind of hinting at that this seems to be talking about Mashiach.
Are we? Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna vote.
Okay, go plant your flag. We have one vote that's for Mashiach.
Maybe it's another topic when we get into this.
Well, yeah, Mashiach, right? Mashiach, yeah, right,
Well,
right.
I want to say that the neighborhoods are definitely, I think it's, when you Anshe Ador Kimo Malachi Hashem.
Yeah,
I don't know what other
Right.
door you're gonna have people who are Kimo, or somebody you would be able to call like the Malachi Hashem. In the
Yeah.
sense that they're doing the will of Hashem, which is like how the Rambam explains like the door of Mashiach.
yeah,
And I mean, it makes sense like in context, a generation of seekers.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't know how that.
I mean, it's a good candidate. Yeah, it is a good candidate. And remember, Sforno has your back. Okay, Sforno does take that approach. And so I think you're in safe, good territory, good company.
I'm just trying to figure everything out.
Yeah. Okay. So Oren, you said you don't agree with that at all. Yeah.
It just feels like it's about like knowing God or coming close to God.
I agree with that also.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Are,
Tangentially, that's sort of similar to Mashiach, but I don't think it's really.
so is it though? So are you saying this is like universal ideas?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So-
would ask that.
okay, yeah.
That just needs to be the general theme.
Right. So that is the approach that Ken and I were taking. So let's get all the approaches on the table again. I said them really fast last time. Okay. So it seems like the Chazal take this to be, and I don't know where Chazal say this, but the Radak quotes Chazal in the first pasuk. Zeh HaMizmor Chibru David Yomru Oso Kishiach Nisu Ha'aron LeBeis Kodesh HaKadoshim. Okay, so that David composed this to be said when the Aron was going to be brought into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which was not during his time. Okay, because he explains. It's when he basically found out, and we read this in Divrei Hayamim last time, where the Beis Mikdash was going to be. Okay, but he did not build it. Obviously, Shlomo did, and so this was actually going to be said during Shlomo's time. Okay, what? Yeah.
I remember it last time when I said that Pasuk 4, in the clean hands, pure of heart.
Yeah.
Is showing that like it's talking about the building of the first Beis Mikdash.
Uh-huh.
That like because that was why he wasn't able to build it.
Yes, you did say that. Yeah, that was a good call.
And that would be Shlomo.
Yeah.
He would be able to do that.
Okay, that's a good call.
Especially because didn't Shlomo come down before he became Baruch Son?
I think so. That sounds familiar.
That would be
Yeah.
pure of heart then. Would be because
Interesting.
It's impossible for him to.
Right.
to
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if I would go that far because it's not like he was barred from the Beis Mikdash once he became Bar Mitzvah. You know, I didn't mean to make a pun. Sorry. Yeah, I did not mean to make that. Yeah. 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 So you just got to be Shlomo or 12. It's just, yeah. Okay, so that is one theory, and a lot of Mefarshim say that theory. Okay, and some of them do extend it. Okay, fine. Well, let's say that. Okay, then you've got Sforno, okay, who says on the bottom right, "Bazeh mizmor hispala al Yisrael sheyizku kulam limos haMashiach ulachaya haolam haba." Okay, that he's davening on Israel that they merit all of them Yemos Mashiach and life in Olam Haba. Okay, yeah.
I had a thought of Olam Haba too.
Okay.
Well, if you think about it, it's a bit of a stretch.
That's okay. We got stretches here. Yeah.
It's a little difficult.
Yeah.
But eternal gates. I was thinking something along the lines of like a Talmud king. like the eternal gates is like lifting up your heads. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but if the King of Glory is Hashem,
Yeah.
right, and God is entering, and the eternal gates are, again, I'm seeing that as like a neshama kind of thing. Then like the only way that God can ever enter is if you die, and then God, so to speak, enters your like line of sight.
Okay, so you're touching upon something which was one of the biggest problems that Ken and I had, which I will articulate in a second. Ellie, you wanna what were you gonna say?
Yeah, it's not really related. In terms of just the sixth pasuk, when it says this is the generation of his seekers.
Yeah.
Like, why? I mean, I noticed we put a capital H. Why are we assuming that's talking about Hashem and not this whatever this figure is who has clean hands and pure heart?
That's a good question. I mean, the antecedent of the pronoun, the last being talked about was Hashem and God of the salvation.
Right.
You know,
it says those who seek out your presence as opposed to his presence. That Hebrew diction there, but,
right. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be God, but I think it is definitely shot that it's God, because the whole subject seems to be God. I mean, except for in 4, right? But that is vis-a-vis God, right? Or 3 and 4, right? Who can go up to the mountain of Hashem? This guy, he will get a bracha from Hashem. And these are the people who seek your face, your presence, Hashem. I'm saying, and then who's the Melech HaKavod? That's all talking about Hashem. So I mean, you could read it that way, but I do think that it is talking about Hashem. Yeah.
Isn't there, to your point on, isn't there a law that says that Moshiach comes could also be Olam Haba?
Chas v'shalom. That's Davka, not the Rambam.
But what did he say? Like, he says something.
Rambam holds that Mashiach and Olam Haba are 2 separate things, very, very separate things, extremely separate. And Ramban is the one who holds that Yemos Mashiach, Olam Haba is another term for the world in the state of Yemos Mashiach.
Okay, that's what
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Rambam, this is now the 3rd approach, and then we'll have them all on the table. And I read this last time, that the Rambam says Rambam.
According to the Ramban, that would work well because the Olam Haba.
Yeah, according to the Ramban, it would work, right? Yeah, do you mean the Olam, the Piskei Olam thing, the eternal? Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah.
Like you're fitting 2 birds with 1 stone, right?
Yeah. Just flow naturally off his tongue. That's good. But it would. What I was gonna say. It does work out. I wonder. I don't know what Sforno's Shita is on Olam Haba and Yemos Mashiach now. Not that this prevents that. I'm just saying, like when he says Olam Haba and Yemos Mashiach, I don't know if he's like lumping them together or not. So okay, this is the Rambam we read last time in Yesodei Torah 8:4. Wait for it. So he's talking about Olam Haba, which is a non-physical existence where your soul derives. Not Yesodei Torah. What am I saying? Tשובה. Where your soul the souls of the righteous derive pleasure from the radiance of the Shekhinah. And he says, "V'kama shemos karu la derech mashal." Okay, Olam Haba was called by many names by way of allegory. Har Hashem, like in our parak, Umakom Kacho, like in our parak, V'derech HaKodesh, like in Sefer Yeshayahu, V'chatzos Hashem, V'ohel Hashem, V'noam Hashem, V'heichal Hashem, Ubeis Hashem, Ushar Hashem, possibly our parak. Okay, Sha'arim, like the gates, I don't know, right? Okay, so I wanted to find where the source is that the Rambam knows that that's talking about Olam Haba. Okay, so I was like, okay, the side guy doesn't say any sources. So I looked at I call it the Migdal Mishnah Torah, the one that all the Migdal guys have. I don't know, it's the Chabad Mishnah Torah, right? And they don't quote any sources either for this. They just refer us to the Psukim. So I think, what? He does sometimes, but I didn't look. It's in Tשובה 8:4.
Oh, it's in Tשוva.
Hill's Tשוva. Yeah, actually, you know what? In Kafech, it's going to be a different numbering, I bet you. In Kafech, it is going to be. It's in Hamada. It's going to be 8:7. bracket 4. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so the Rambam is not quoting a Gemara here, which means this is how the Rambam interpreted our psukim. Okay. So the Rambam, so Ken and I initially wanted to say that that this is talking about Olam Haba, which is close to what Oren was saying. I mean, I don't know if it overlaps. It's about getting closest to Hashem, and this is talking about about like what type of person is going to get Olam Haba. But here's the problem. This is what I was referring to when you said your approach, Chaim. So if this is talking about Olam Haba, it's okay. Going up to the mountain of Hashem, that works out of like going to Olam Haba, right? But the gates opening so the king arrives. That's a little weird to describe Olam Haba that way. Like the king arriving in Olam Haba. Why? Because we go to Olam Haba. That's the mashal, not that God comes to us.
He's a good host.
Lord of hosts. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was saying like acquiring knowledge.
Yeah. No. That's what I'm saying. It's not. I'm not saying it is your approach. I'm saying it's close to your approach because it's going to be coinciding. Yeah. Hashem. Yeah. No. The first two. Yeah. Hashem. Yeah. Yeah. Right. But what I'm looking for, but he doesn't quote a Gemara where the Rambam gets it from. Yeah. So that means this is the Rambam's shot.
That means that Kaplan also thinks they got it.
Well, no, undeniably. Oh yeah, you mean not from a Gemara?
Yeah.
Just from here. Yeah. Right. I mean, undeniably, the Rambam is referring to here, but whether he got it from here or not. Yeah. By the way, also just to show you, even though this tool didn't pan out, another tool in the Rishon toolkit, Kafek's little pamphlet, Hamikra Barambam, is it shows you look up any pasuk and it shows you where the Rambam cites it. So I did look for where else the Rambam talks about it. I couldn't find this one though. Morning Moving 3:7. When I looked there, he didn't quote it.
So what is this again? It's
called Hamikra Baramam. You look up any pasuk in Tanakh, and it'll tell you where in the Rambam's writings he quotes it. Yeah, I think we have a physical copy, but I can send anyone a PDF if they want. Yeah, just send it. Text me later on. Yeah. Yeah, someone remind me later. I'll send it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So so we have several possibilities here, and then here's the thing though, is that okay? So what Ken and I really wanted to do was to say that can we read it in a way where this is about welcoming the Aron, but somehow alludes to these other ideas as well. Okay, that this is about Yemos Mashiach or about Olam Haba. Yeah.
We're welcoming the Aron?
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, the Aron was what?
The Aron HaKodesh, the going into the Kodesh HaKodashim. Okay. That's what the Radak says, and others say the purpose of the Mizmor was. Now, I haven't said our theory yet. Okay? All I've done is repeated what Ken and I said last time. Yeah, fine. Okay.
It's a little dicey.
That's okay. We're deleting the Shir afterwards anyway.
I'm going through it slowly.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you can break up the recipient into like their first half and their second half.
Okay.
And that one half, in that sense, is talking about when you're bringing the Aron in. The other half is talking about Olam Haba.
Okay.
I'm kind of seeing if it works. It kind of maybe works out.
Okay.
Because who shall ascend to the mountain of Hashem?
Yeah.
That we can say, like the Rambam, is Olam Haba.
Yeah.
Who shall stand in his holy place? That sounds like a more physical thing. That can be in the Beis Hamikdash.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And then only problem is when it switches over.
Yeah.
Clean up hands and pure heart, and who is not born my soul in a lie. That kind of sounds like some sort of like, meaning if you make God's essence into a lie, like that's like some sort of denial of like incarnate.
Yeah.
You know, and then taking over deceitfully, like I don't know how that will fit in there. But then the really weird thing is that when we read the Rambam, if we know that there are people who are saying this is Olam Haba, right? So 5 is very strange to me. That you should receive blessing and righteousness. How do you have both of those in Olam Haba? How can you have an overflowing amount of good and just what is good for you in Olam Haba? Which is leading me to say that there has to be a breakdown that like one of them is physical and one of them is not physical.
Okay. Well, it is interesting.
We definitely have bracha in Olam Haba. You get exactly what you reap exactly what you sowed, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, like
and no.
Oh.
Okay. What? Chaim is saying. So Chaim wants to say that the first half is talking about Oh wait, where are you?
I'm saying
No.
first half of the pasuk.
The first half of each
You
pasuk
can break the psukim up.
is talking about the.
Every
I'm
possible.
not sure. which
Okay,
half
well,
of
I'm
the
just going to
pasuk.
respond to your last part. Okay, but if 5 referred to Olam Haba, then what sense would you make of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you know your Zmiros or your crowning psukim of the Mishnah Torah, okay,
Oh, very.
What's that?
the crowning, I forgot what, Kol Makadesh, I think.
Oh, that's a
Mishochas
long
decha liodecha. Mishochas decha,
time.
yeah,
That's it.
that's Kol Makadesh.
Yeah.
So it's from Tehilim. Mishochas decha liodecha v'tzidkascha liyishrei lev. Extend your kindness to those who know you, and your righteousness to the upright of heart. Okay, so I believe when we did this 2 years ago, I think we said that people who are have Yedias Hashem get more than the people who are just like the average people who are like well-intentioned and keeping mitzvos. They just get what they deserve. Obviously, in Olam Haba, you only do get what you deserve, but it is making it to 2 strata and saying there's like people who go like beyond the bare minimum requirements, and then the people who are doing the bare minimum requirements. Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, not really an idea. Just like, I guess about like I'm very.
That's the theme of the Shir. No ideas, just thoughts. Yeah.
I'm very fixated on the last 4 again.
Yeah.
And how there's like this weird, like slightly mirrored version of each puzzle.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of a.
You want me to quench your fixation?
Sure.
Okay, so the closest thing I found was the somebody. Classic somebody. I just don't remember who it was. I went through a lot of Mefarshim. It was not the Sforno. Someone said, and it wasn't the Meiri. Oh, Meiri was a letdown this time. Meiri's been our Tehilim guide for the last couple of things. It's like he was half-heartedly explaining stuff. He was like, yeah, it's this. He just like didn't give us the full like explanation like he usually does. Who said this? So someone says, I'll just say it, and then if someone finds it. So someone says that Psukim 7 and 8 are referring to in David's time, okay, or like in Bais Rishon, I should say, okay, and 9 and 10 are referring to Yemos Mashiach, and that's why it's repeated, because this is the first bias and this is the last bias, and then that's also why the war imagery is in 8, because that involved like this is the culmination of the conquest of Eretz Yisrael, of like establishing the base of Mikdash. But then in in the Yemos Mashiach, then there's not going to be any war. I mean, after all the bloody war of Gog and Magog, but he's saying that the Melech HaKavod will not be associated with the war at that time, because all the people who got warred out were dead. God will beat their sword. People will beat their swords into plowshares, and there will be no more war.
Oh, meaning after the last great war.
Yeah, right. In the time of Mashiach, yeah, right. Yeah, Oren. So yeah, so the 2 interpretations I know of are the ones I read in the Ibn Ezra is so first of all, just halachic aside here. So the word Svaos is an actual word, which means like legions, but when you say it as Hashem Tzavakos, that is a name of Hashem. So the Neo is to say it's Hashem Tzavakos, and it's one of the 7 proper names of Hashem. The 7 proper names being Aleph Dal Nun Yud / Yud Kei Vav Kei. That counts as one name. Kel Elokai Elokim, Kel Shakai, Tzvakos, Ekia Asher Ekia. Yeah, those are the 7. Yeah, yeah. So that was one explanation of the parallel. And then going to your question, it either means so legions is the analogy of all of the heavenly array, like all of the laws of nature, all of the angels, and they all are completely in order and systematic and obedient to God. Yeah, I think that's plain shot. Okay, could I say the only thing resembling an idea that Ken and I had?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is a half-baked. I don't even know if like inside, maybe open oven is still like totally like unbaked pockets of dough everywhere. Okay, so what Ken and I want to say is like this. So we initially wanted to say it's about Olam Haba, okay, but leave that aside. Let's take that it's about the Aron. Okay, bring the Aron in. Okay, so the Aron. So the subject of the parak is how to perceive the kavod hamelech. Okay, not everyone can perceive the kavod hamelech. Okay, you need to be a certain type of person in order to do that, and that type of person is the person described in Dalet. Okay, and what that means, I think the best interpretation I found of that, and we can take this interpretation and like apply to whatever idea we settle on, but I think this is just a good interpretation. Sforno on Dalet. Niki kapayim b'maaseh. That's in action, so not being involved in averos. Okay, ubar levav b'deos, and pure of heart in your ideas. I think this is not hilchos deos. This is like knowledges, right? Your knowledge. Asher lo nasa l'shav nafshi. So he does not take it as swearing by God. Okay, check out this cool shot. Oso tzelem elokim shekibalti gamani. This tzelem elokim that I also received, lo kibil osa l'shav. I did not receive it in vain. Shehishlim osa b'torah of mitzvos. I perfected it with Torah and mitzvos. Okay, so he's translating the pasuk as someone who did not carry their soul in vain. Okay, and if you think about it, there are lots of people walking around who are just, as Marcus Aurelius would say, corpses carrying souls, right? But the question is, are you actually, so that's what we are, we're corpses carrying souls. But the question is, are we carrying them in vain, or are we carrying them and using them? So he's saying this is a guy who will be able to say, I did not carry my soul in vain. I perfected it with Torah and mitzvos. And then lo nishba lemirma. Now, according to Sforno, this does not become a repetition, right? The way we were reading it, it's kind of like, why is he talking about two ways of swearing falsely? He did not swear falsely. So what's bad about swearing falsely? A lot of things. Why? Okay, let me ask you a different question. Okay, going back, I know we're not in Tשובה season anymore, but it's always Tשובה season. When the Rambam is talking about the kalos and the chamuros, and he says the chamuros are things that are high of kares or misas based in. Chamuros hina avir shechayim alein misas based in or kares ushvu shav b'sheker. So a vain or a false oath. Afapi she'ein ba kares harihu min hachamuros. It's one of these severe sins. So you got all chiyuv misa and kares plus shvu shav and shvu sheker. So why is it like bad in that sense?
And those are specifically with like the Shel, right?
With the Shem Hashem, yeah, and that's gonna be part of the answer, yeah.
Right. So that way it automatically means that you have a wrong like idea of like Hashem or of the Shem Hashem, meaning such that you either think that you can just use it flippantly,
Yeah,
and say that like, oh yeah, I promise I did this thing, or whatever.
right.
Or that what's the inverse of that? I don't know.
So let's just play it out through the classic example. If you swear in God's name that X is true and it's not true,
Oh.
so then what is bad about that? Yeah, like,
I mean, just the idea of swearing in God's name, right? It's doing something concrete, like making a concrete thing of nature. Like when God ever makes a claim, God says something that goes. So when you're doing something in God's name, you're essentially
Okay. True, but worse. It's worse than it's on those lines, but it's
You're
worse.
taking a distortion and you're trying to use the ultimate perfection and saying this thing like almost like agrees, like you're trying to like invoke God into your distorted like truth.
But how though? How? Well, or maybe it helps if you say the idea. I has answer. It's like, what is it? It's a mitzvah to swear in God's name under certain circumstances, right? So what's good about that, right? Like it's not, yeah. Ayala, what do you want to say?
Isn't it saying like as long as God exists, this is true? So it's if it's not true, then you're kind of saying that like God doesn't exist and like
Yeah. So yeah, I would put it slightly differently, which is you're saying that the truth of this thing is comparable to the truth of God's existence. Okay, right? So that's why when it is a mitzvah to swear, then you use, you always want to swear on something that is the most real thing, right? And to show that this is real and supported by like the ultimate reality, Sorry. No, yeah. I think I thought this was a Tanakh, yeah. There we go, yeah. But when you swear falsely, you're saying this thing is as real as God's existence, and if it's not real, so then that is like a horrible thing. It's like a denial of God's existence. Okay, yeah, right. So Sforno says, "V'lo nishba limirma," and he did not swear for deceit. Gam sheyeh davar emes, even if the thing is true, lo yishba ba'ofen sheyachshvu hashomim sheyishba al hefko. He won't even swear in a way that the listeners think he's swearing falsely. So he doesn't even want to give off the impression. He cares about truth so much that he doesn't even want to give off the impression that he's like undermining the notion of God's existence. Okay.
And that would be like the mirror of like you can have like a two ways like mirror is always like the brother, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like there's two ways to view what he said.
Okay, maybe that's where he's getting from. I was wondering why he was going that direction. I didn't know that was the implication of Mirma. Yeah, if you say so, yeah.
Remember what Rebbe said with like they didn't really lie when they acted with trickery. Like it wasn't really a lie. Like there's two ways to it, and they in a sense like Hashem chose to see it the way they wanted.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't heard that shot, but that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so going back to the idea that Ken and I are trying to say here. Okay, so the idea is, yeah, so the idea is like this. The idea is who can perceive God's glory. Okay, so it's this type of person. Okay, we haven't said why. All right, but it's this type of person, and it's the type of person who sees this in the context of Ma'aseh Bereshis. Okay, that's why it starts off with Ma'aseh Bereshis. Okay, you need to be a person who recognizes L'Hashem ha'aretzim lo'ah, Tefilah Shivah, etc., and acts in line with he lives a life that is dedicated to the implications of that, meaning he perfects his soul, he does Torah and mitzvos, avoids averos, and is absolutely committed to truth. So that guy is going to get blessing from Hashem and righteousness, whatever that means. I don't know what 6 is. Okay, but then here's the thing. When the Aron comes in, this is going to be the guy who is going to perceive this as the king arriving. Okay, the ordinary person is not going to be able to perceive that. Okay, like there's a whole fanfare when a human king is a physical thing with a fanfare and everything like that, and music and trumpets and elephants or whatever they do, but with okay, this is the weird thing, and this is going to make some people squeamish, but this is facts. So if you were, yeah, yeah. So the Aron is called by Hashem's name. Right. So where do you see that? In the 7th, yeah. Right. So in Bamidbar, in the middle book of Devarim, right? If there are 7 books, of Torah, right? That's Machlokas Tanaim. Yeah. In Bamidbar, in 11. Bamidbar. Yeah. Is it 11 or is it 12 or is it's 10? It's 10. It's 10:35. Yeah, the upside down nuns. So and it was when the ark would travel, Moshe would say, "Arise, Hashem, and your enemies will be scattered, and those who hate you will flee from before you. And when the Aron came to rest, he would say, Shuva Hashem, return Hashem, Rivavos Alpha Yisrael, the myriad legions of Israel. The 2 nuns, it's Machlokes Tanaim why these 2 nuns are here. According to one Shita, that this is its own book of Tanakh. And so it's a Machlokes where there's 7 books of Tanakh or 5. Oh, sorry, of Chumash, right? Well, you wouldn't call it Chumash, of Torah Moshe, right?
So when you say this is its own book of Tanakh, Chumash,
yeah.
What is its own book?
These 2 psukim. So you have Bereshis, Shmos, Vayikra, Bamidbar Aleph, so Haron, Bamidbar Beis, and then Devarim. Yeah, that's a whole fun machlokes to go over. Yeah, okay.
Where's
it's the end of chapter 10. Yeah. So and this is not the only place where it's called where Hashem is associated with the Aron, right? We call Hashem Yoshev HaKruvim, right? Why?
Because that's where the Moshe would get.
That's where Moshe would get Nevuah from between the 2 Kruvim, right? So the Shechina was over the Aron between the 2 Kruvim, right? So there is this phenomenon that we treat, and again, Ilma Mikra Kasuv Yevshar Omro. If it weren't for the fact that the Psukim said this, it would be heretical to say something like this. We treat the Aron as like a stand-in for the Kavod Hashem, because the Kavod Hashem physically emerged from the Nevuah physically emerged from between the two kruvim, right?
Maybe physically.
The nevuah, whatever it means that the nevuah was between the two things, whatever it is, whether it's like, a Rabak's shot, there's like an audio translation of the nevuah that people could like, I think something like that. So the thing is that if you prime yourself as a seeker of Hashem who is dedicated to the truth and is perfecting yourself, and seeing this in the context of the Ma'aser Bereishis, so then you will perceive the King of Glory entering when the Aron comes to the Mikdash, to the Kodesh Kodashim, and if not, then you won't. Because the thing that perceives the Kavod Hashem is something that you can only perceive through your mind, And here's the catch: is that this is the type of person who goes to Olam Haba. That's what we want to say, that there's a link. That we want to say that the Rambam's version of this could be true, that this is talking about Olam Haba, but then Chazal's interpretation of this as a Tefilah that David had for when they brought in the Aron could also be true, but we couldn't work out the particulars. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's. Okay. Well, so yeah. Well, so that's the interesting thing, right? Is that yeah. I mean that Pasuk 6 does seem to be saying that this is either a specific generation or all generations, I guess, of Klal Yisrael. Someone said that it's all of the Bnei Yaakov. Let me just see. Was it Radak? See, this is another problem. When I get desperate, I binge Mefarshim, and then I never remember where I read what. Usually, I'm just going through Radak or Meiri, so I'm getting good. Zehu Dorshav Mi Hu Sheyali B'Har Hashem B'Makom Kacho Hu Niki B'Har Levav Zehu Dorshe Hashem B'Hem Yisrael. Oh, so he says something different. Who said that this could only be in the time of Mashiach? Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. So he says V'Zehai B'Mei Shlomo Shaban Habayis. Okay, so that they met the Dorshe Hashem mark. Uksiv Dorshav Kneged Dor Shuk Derech Klal Lashon Yachid. V'Kari Dorshav Kneged Hapratim Shem Rabim. Okay. No, hold on a second. It wasn't him. Someone listed a bunch of generations that this applied to. Was it? Maybe it was the Radak in the first pasuk. Yeah, it was Radak on the first page, wide lines. The end of the first wide line. Af lo l'chol bnei Adam. Not even every person can go. Ela neki kapayim v'var levav. Who is Zera Yaakov? Shehim mavakshe Hashem. Right, it's the offspring of Yaakov who seek Hashem. So he learns this at Tzibui. That they should be clean hands and pure of heart. And this happened many times. When Kumo bimei Yehoshua uvimei hazakenim asher harichu yamim acharav. So the Yeshua and the Zakenim. Kmo she'amar vayavod Yisrael es Hashem kol yimei Yehoshua. That's open pasuk. V'chein bimei hashoftim. Okay, I thought things were bad at the time of the Shoftim, so I don't know what he means there. That's what I thought. Yeah. Uvimei Shmuel Amar v'yanehu kol beis Yisrael al Hashem. No. Ah, interesting. Oh, during the reigns of the Shoftim. Okay, right. Yeah.
There was like up and down, right? So.
Okay. Uvimei David u'Shlomo. Also during the days like Chizkiyahu and Yoshiyahu. This is not true in any other nation. That they served Hashem together. So he does say it is all of Bnei Yaakov, but only when they're all doing good. Yeah. Oh man. Tuffy.
So what exactly is bothering you?
Everything. Everything.
One thing that's
I don't have an answer to the 4 questions we try to answer. 4 questions we try to answer in every Tehilim are, what is the parak saying as a whole? What is the theme or subject? What's the main idea? No clue. What is it saying in detail and how? I don't know. A lot of stuff I don't understand. Is this true in whole or in part? I would know if I knew what the idea was. And what of it? What's the point? I don't know. So this is all I've got for now. I don't want to spend another week on this. And again, this is the unfortunate thing about the fact that this year is now only a 1 day a week year. When we had twice as long, I would feel better about, like, sometimes what happens is you delve into it and then you go away and then you come back and then you go away and you come back. And it's the time away that like lets everything fall into place. And then I can't justify another dud of a shiur like this next week. And so the only thing that would change my mind is if Hashem gives me an answer to my tefillos in the affirmative, and then we can figure this out, and then I'll present to you the understanding. If not, we'll do something else. And I kind of want to take a break from Tehilim and do something in Tefilah. What? Tefilah that we say, yeah. So I don't know what it is yet, but I'll take requests. What? No, Tefilah. Like yeah. So like, because I think what happened was the Q&A about Sim Shalom whetted my appetite for doing Tefilah, and that's why I also like spend time writing it up this week. So I want to do something in Tefilah. It could just be a line of Tefilah. It doesn't have to be like a whole sugya.
You mean like going through the text of Tefilah?
Yeah, text of Tefilah. Yeah, Shemona Esrei. Oh yeah, Shemona Esrei.
Oh, just
Yeah. I mean, that's what we mean by Tefilah. Yeah.
What specifically, like,
That's not Tefilah.
what about like a meter? Like, is it something that
It's not Tefilah. Halachically, it's not Tefilah. Yeah, right. Yeah. It could be a Shabbos Shemona Esrei. It doesn't have to be weekday. Yeah. I want something in Shemona Esrei though. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we got whatever we got. Look, Moshe only separated 3 cities of refuge. Okay. And so we only got 3. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming anyway. Oof.
Thank you.